Welcome to Nightly Highlights, your audio and video companion to the nightly news. Each episode is a shortcut to exciting campus events and helpful resources, perfect for a quick break or your daily commute. We'll keep you in the loop with what's happening around the Marian University Indianapolis campus. I'm Karen Candlish, your Dean of Students, and this week I'm joined by Bieghler and Johnna Lorenzano. Yay! Woo! I always love to see how people react to just that part. That's my favorite part.
Did we live up to the hype?
I don't know.
Okay, so Bree is the director of internships and assessment with the Exchange, Marian University's Career Center. And Bree, this is the best fact about you, is that you hold 2 degrees, from Marian University. That's more degrees than I hold from Marian.
I'm just better. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm just better. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So you graduated from Marian in 2017.
I did.
The first time as an undergrad. Bachelor's of Science in Exercise Science and Psychology.
Yep.
And then you got your master's degree in 2024.
I did, yes.
Recent. That's very exciting.
Very exciting.
I feel like we should clap for that. We should clap for that. There we
Thank
go.
you.
There we go. Johnna. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
So you have you have a Master's of Arts in Leadership Practice. How was that?
It was awesome. It's cool because it's a newer program. We were in the first cohort, and there were a lot of other Marian colleagues that were participating as well. So being able to collaborate with people in departments you don't always collaborate with, but also knowing other people in the doctoral program, just a lot of conversations, reflection within yourself, and just thinking about, okay, why do I respond the way that I do? Having Johnna start conversations too. Our office is really allowed to just think about, okay, how are we responding to things? How are we thinking about things? Strategizing our next step as a department as a whole.
Yeah, cool. So spoiler alert, Johnna's also in this program, which is really exciting. So you're not a Marian grad. You went to Ball State. And you're the Director of Employer Relations with the Exchange. So we have 2 Exchange employees. We're going to talk all about career services. And we like to say that you got to Marian as fast as you could.
That's
and
right.
you liked it so much that you became a student.
That's right.
How has your experience been in that program?
Good. I'll reiterate a lot of what Bree said. It's really great, reflective. Honestly, I wish I had started it sooner. I think it would have been a really valuable program to have under my belt before I was teaching in the classroom. Just the way that I approach other people, but also the way I receive things, it looks a lot different now, just learning some of the concepts that we've talked about. So it's been really helpful for me.
Yeah, nice.
And like Bree mentioned, we're able to talk a lot of the lingo now, and it's really nice to have that.
Or it's you can not challenge, but be able to say, hey, how are you using this?
You mean call me out?
Thinking, no.
Yeah, call me out.
Hey, I know you've thought about this.
Oh my gosh. See, I do see that. So we have Masters of Arts in Leadership Practice, and then we have the EDD program. And so I do see that people in those programs, they are different when they get into it. And they learn more about how to engage in leadership, their own styles, and how to challenge, and how to, I don't know, I just hear.
Or to let
people
things
talk
go.
different.
That's also a big thing, is to not maybe feel the need to have control over everything, but to kind of be okay with.
Or even just feeling comfortable asking a question at a table that you might not have felt comfortable before.
Yeah.
I really found myself saying, hey, I have some expertise in this area. Let's just ask some questions.
Yeah. I was in a meeting with 2 people that were either in or graduated from the doctoral program, and they looked at me and they said, we're going to do a thing here. And so they basically were saying, you're not going to understand anything of what I'm about to say. We're going to talk and do a thing. And so they started talking to each other using language that I understood as a human person who understands, but I didn't know what they were talking about. And they were talking about turning the heat up or something. I was like, I don't know. Okay, great. This is great for you. I'm happy that you're able to work this out in your own special language. So, yeah. But that's really great. I'm excited that you graduated from that program, that you're in that program, that it's like your own type of professional development, which is really awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's cool because, in a lot of learning that we do in all stages of life, it's you learn something and then you move on. But this is really you learn it and you use it and you practice it. So it's kind of nice to continually build on it.
Yeah. And I also want to mention your degree from Ball State secondary English education.
Yes.
I was an English major at Marian, so we definitely talk about things that are related to
Our appreciation for grammar.
grammar. Yes, so much appreciation for it. And anyway, so we need to talk about that. It just
Yeah.
needs to be stated.
Yeah.
You know, for all the English majors out there.
If you want to diagram some
Yeah.
sentences with us, it's fun.
I'm out. No thanks.
We can talk about books. I introduced myself to the Student Government Association senators and told them that I was an English major. There was one English major in the room, and she just kept asking me questions. And I was like, maybe you and I should get lunch after this or
Yeah.
something. Because we just need to talk about books. And she wanted to know about law school. And I was like, I'm happy to talk to you about all of these things. But maybe we don't have to do that here. But it was great.
I can leave. Like, you
Bye,
But
Bree.
who will call me out if I'm not listening? And
just peek through the
Questioning.
window. Like,
Okay, so you both work in the Career Center. Did you go to the career office when you were an undergrad?
so going to Marian, I was familiar with the exchange. I went probably once a year, updating my resume for on-campus jobs. But I vividly remember my senior year, it was probably February or March, and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing the rest of my life. And I got an email about scheduling my senior exit interview. So I went and I met with Jenny Morris, current executive director of the exchange. And she told me through our conversation, have you ever considered working in higher ed or career services? And I said, I don't do resumes. But here I am. And I think that just goes to show how your experience can kind of evolve. I actually graduated from Marian and never left. I spent time in admissions. I work in the exchange now. So I'm definitely go Knights through and through.
Yeah.
But I don't, it was something that I wish I probably would have engaged with the exchange a little bit sooner, so I didn't feel that sense of dread at the end. It all worked out, and I was able to really find myself, but for a while there I was like, oh, I'm on this boat all alone, and I'm supposed to figure it out on my own, which is not the case.
Yeah, for sure. So you use the career office, Johnna.
I did not. And that's no shame to Ball State has a great career center. I went there one time to submit on-campus employment stuff so I could get a job on campus. But because I was an education major, I knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And there's a very clear path for different programs, and that was one where you have your pre-professional experience built in. And so I didn't see the need for myself to go in there and learn about the resources. I got a job right after graduation and everything was great until I found myself really thinking is this what I want to do forever? And then I kind of felt lost. I didn't know what to do. And I had that same question that Bree said, what am I doing with my life and where do I go? And how do I use the skills and the degree that I have to find something that isn't secondary English education?
Yeah.
So I'm really lucky that I was able to connect with somebody who worked in career services to kind of guide me through that process. And so the really cool thing about the exchange is that it doesn't matter what stage of life you're in, you can still utilize the services that they provide and reach out for guidance or just a conversation. Sometimes it just takes somebody else hearing what you're thinking to kind of help you, analyze and decipher what the next step could be.
Yeah.
So I didn't use a career office until 10 years after I graduated from my undergrad. So.
Yeah. Well, and so the work you're doing now isn't exactly, right, what you went to undergrad for. And I think that is something that comes up kind of a lot when we talk about students who've picked a major and then what do you do with that and is it related at all to what you studied? And so can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, first, I don't think that there's a major anywhere that is career services major, right?
Yeah.
So but we have people who work in that area. And so there are skills that are transferable.
Yeah.
Obviously, I worked with students every day. I did a lot of planning, and those are things in my current job that take up a lot of my time, and I'm able to use those skills that I have just through a new lens, I guess.
And I think that's something that we try to coach students through is that really thinking about how am I articulating the skills that I'm developing, no matter if I'm a philosophy major, a psychology major, a nursing major, you're developing a lot of transferable skills, but oftentimes we don't know how to talk about that. We don't know how to sell that when, yes, I can see a lot of those connections, but individually you might not be seeing those in yourself.
Yeah. So you're also doing a job that's sort of related, but also not exactly related to your undergraduate degree. So where did your transferable skills come from?
Well, shout out Marian for all of the, I think the general education courses really in the liberal arts kind of formation helped me think about, okay, I knew I wanted to work with people, and I knew that I wanted to find a job that would help fulfill this mission within me to want to help people.
Yeah.
So initially, upon graduating from Marian, I was like, okay, I had spent some time working in admissions. I knew I loved my experience at Marian. Why not share that with other students considering, attending Marian? So that felt super natural to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the transition into career services really relayed a lot on some of those relationships I had built. It was so cool the first couple of years being able to meet with students I had once recruited and see all the successful things they'd been able to do while they were on campus. That was something in admissions that I missed. Yes, we knew that they were successful in high school. We didn't often see all the awesome things that they did through their time here.
Yeah.
But there were also things that, hearing throughout the way, you'd meet with students and you'd say, okay, but didn't you do this? You're not talking about this at all. This isn't on your resume at all. So helping them really to be able to see their gifts and really articulate that, I think is something that I really found through this role.
Yeah. You were one of those that when you graduated from Marian and you stayed, everyone was like, oh, Bree was a really, really great student worker or RA, and now she's going to be an employee. And maybe she's working in admissions now, but maybe she'll work somewhere else later.
Oh, I wonder who might have asked me those questions.
I was like,
4 or 5 times.
I had housing positions open at times. I was like, Bree, what are you doing? But nope, couldn't convince you to come over to the housing side. But Jenny
Morris. Jenny Morris is the convincing one.
She got you. I'll have to talk to her about how she did that. Shore up my skills in negotiation. But that was. You were definitely one of those rock star students that we were excited to see stay on. So yeah, just take it.
I will.
Yeah. But I'm always curious about this when Marian alumni are on the podcast. So how did you decide to come to Marian? What was your connection there?
Yeah, so I was competing for a full tuition scholarship. I ended up, I think, with a half tuition, but it was really financial aid was really important in my decision. But I went to a smaller high school. I knew I was looking and discerning schools that had that kind of community and home feel. I was very accustomed to having conversations with my teachers in school, so that was definitely something that I was looking at through my college search. And I remember coming on campus for the scholarship competition, and it felt like home.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember walking up to the check-in table, and my admission counselor knew me by name. I met her once before. Shout out Ashley Hardy. But she knew me by name, and I was like, you recruit all of these different students, but you knew me, my face, you knew me before I could even say my name. And I think that goes to show, a lot of the people on this campus that makes this campus special, really truly getting to know all the people that they're working with, the students, and not just initially, but oh, I know this student has had these experiences, might be looking for these opportunities, and we should share these things so they can consider more options.
Yeah. Lucy Woodrum, who is the student body president, was on the podcast last time, and she talked about that feeling of home, just having that overwhelming sense of home here and community. And I do think that is something that makes Marian really special. Yeah. And I love hearing that people had that experience when you were in school and when I was in school, and that they're still having that experience, which makes me really believe in the mission and the values. I think that really speaks to the place that the Sisters of St. Francis Oldenburg created.
Yep.
And that it's still here and everyone really believes in it and is continuing to pass it along, which is really great.
And I can say that was a big part in why I ended up here at Marian. I didn't want to leave a profession that I really loved just to go somewhere else. I was really intentional about what opportunities I took, and I knew people that worked here before I started working here. So I knew that culture and that just that engagement of people who are here to support and care and have a shared mission was present here. And so that was
Yeah.
what really drew me to working here.
Yeah, yeah. Is it living up?
Yeah.
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 I mean, you're a student now, so
Yeah,
I
that's
feel like
right,
I feel like
yeah.
you wouldn't have done that if you didn't, if you weren't.
Yeah, well, and
happy
getting
with
the
it.
support, I mean, I didn't just decide to, like, I had people encouraging me to kind of push myself, to have those experiences,
Yeah.
to develop myself. Yeah, I've made tons of friends playing on a volleyball team that, shout out. And
Yes,
we
but-
are going to challenge
Okay,
you.
but you're not actually playing in the Marian intramural season.
No.
You play in a off-campus
yes.
intramural.
But it is with Marian professionals.
Sure. But when the time came to sign up for Marian intramurals, this team decided that they were too good for it.
Well,
That's what I'm
will-
going to say.
Maybe our captain could consider that for future seasons.
You mean like at him?
But there is a staff team that is playing Marian intramurals, and this is what we're talking about. There's there's a little
Okay,
bit of
will
drama.
you come back to the volleyball team?
I gotta look at my schedule.
Okay.
I'm a busy woman.
But the staff team did win their first game. So
proud of
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Nice work.
Yeah, I wasn't there, but it's okay. But it's okay. They did great without me, which is amazing. I'm very
So
excited.
even better when you come back, right?
Yes, exactly.
There we go.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I really hope we don't lose next week.
Maybe I would consider subbing. I need to get a
Ooh.
feel for what this team
Yeah,
is.
yeah. Maybe you just like stand at the net and sub for whichever team you feel like is playing better.
Okay.
So they have more practice, so I don't know. But that is really cool and super fun. So yeah. Okay, so what are some myths about career services at Marian or just in general?
Well, I think one we kind of touched on a little bit is that you don't really need to use the career office until maybe your senior year when you're looking for
Yeah.
a job. We spoke to the fact that you can use it after you graduate, but I don't know if you want to speak a little bit more to the opportunities that are there before your senior year.
Yeah, I think something that we try to reiterate to students pretty often is that, you can meet with us early and as often as you need. And I think really going back to our conversation about like finding those people and like it becomes home.
Yeah.
If you visit us and are able to like develop that relationship with us, we are all the time, oh, this opportunity would be great for so-and-so. Let me make sure to send it to you. So I think, we're trying to really make sure we're embedded in classes so students can see us and recognize the value. So that way, when they do have the time outside of class, we know, hey, that's an office that's there to help. But, we, like Johnna said earlier too, we try to meet with students no matter where they're at in the process. So if you are saying, hey, I am studying this, I want to graduate and do this role at this company, great, let's help you reach those stepping stones and
Yeah.
make sure that you have success in doing that. Most of the time it's, I have no idea what I'm doing and I just know that I'm here and you might be an office to help. That's fantastic too, right? We want to make sure that students know that we are a resource, that we're going to meet with you where you're at and help get you to where you want to go. And oftentimes it's just going to be asking questions. We can't be the experts on everything, but what we can do is help you through that search process.
Yeah, for sure. Any other myths?
I think people think maybe that career services is the place that I go to just be placed with a position.
Yeah, yeah.
Our office, we've tried to tagline this exchange empowered. So we are the office that you go to get some support with those technical documents, but really, like, we want to empower you. We want you to see those skills and those strengths that we see. We're going to make sure that you are ready to go for that mock interview, that you're dressed for success, right, with our dress room press closet, but we can't just give you or find you a job, right?
Yeah.
We can provide some of those contacts and connections if there's something that you're really excited about and you want to reach out to somebody. There's a lot of times where we have those connections. Certainly, like Bree said, we'll look for opportunities everywhere and send them your way, but there's no, like, you can't come to us and say, I need this job, and we just hand it to you. It's a partnership. Like,
Yeah.
we will give you what we can, and you've got to also carry the load too, and we'll work together. And it usually works out great.
Yeah, I think there's sometimes maybe a misunderstanding about all this, like what services are available at the exchange. I think sometimes they're like, yeah, that's where I go to get my resume reviewed so I can work on campus. And yes, that is one thing that you can do there among many, but There's also, mock interview prep and also just having conversations about careers. There's also, those are things that you can do with meetings, but then you also plan events, etiquette events, career events, internship events, where you're bringing employers to campus and they're having opportunities for students to engage with them and meet them and network and all of that. So I'm sure there are other things I'm not even thinking about.
Yeah,
that you all do.
sometimes we have great partnerships with employers off campus that want to have students come. So we've done tours of different facilities where either it's our team or groups of students going to just kind of see what the work environment is like at a different place.
Cool.
We have our career development fund, so it's a
Oh,
it's a professional development stipend that students can apply to. We know that there's a lot of experiences that might have some financial barriers, so trying to offer opportunities for students to go to that conference, to accept maybe that unpaid internship, really like just providing more options for students to accept things that they can add to their resume and really help foster that like professional development.
Yeah. Applying to or taking the LSAT or the MCAT is
Yep.
definitely something that people are interested in using that fund for. Because those things are expensive,
Yeah.
taking those tests and applying to post-secondary schools, all of that requires money most of the time. So, yeah. Well, that's awesome. What upcoming events or other resources should students be aware of?
Yeah, so we have National Student Employment Week coming up April 14th through the 18th. So we're partnering with the Office of Human Resources to host some fun events on campus. So if you're a student and you work on campus, hopefully you'll getting some information from your supervisor and you'll see us kind of around campus, showing you that we appreciate the work that you're doing because truly we could not function without our
No.
students. So that's coming up, and then we've got an etiquette dinner that will be on April 9th at 6 p.m. For seniors. So that's whether you're graduating in May or December. It's an opportunity to come and learn, like, there's lots of fancy things on the table when you go to these, like, professional dinners. You get to learn, like, what you use what fork for or which way to pass the bread basket. And it's a delicious 3-course meal, a night to like dress up and have fun, take pictures with your friends, and also build your, professional self. So
Yeah.
And kind of celebrate. We do this annually, but it's we want to celebrate the seniors and the hard work they've done, but try and like incorporate some fun education into it as well.
Yeah. Being professional where food is involved is a skill and not always easy.
No.
So, like, how do I do this? How do I make sure that nothing flies off my plate? Or, like, I don't want that cherry tomato to go anywhere.
Or
You know
there's
what
a
I
certain
mean?
way that I place my napkin when I get
Yeah,
up. Or
right. If I'm done or I'm not done. And
pass the salt and pepper together.
yes.
Yeah, there's
these
all
are
kinds of little nuances, and it's fine if you don't know them. Like, there doesn't need to be any pressure, but it definitely does stand out when you are familiar with those things, especially when you go into like group interview settings that are, centered around fine dining, or maybe you're new to a position and one of the first events that your workplace is hosting is a gala or something where you're all dressed up. Like,
Yeah.
it's nice to know those things or at least have some background before.
You're sitting
Yeah.
there
Yes.
and you don't know what to do.
Oh,
Yeah,
which
overanalyzing.
fork is
And
this?
you have these like people around you and they may be like coworkers of yours or maybe they're donors to your organization and you're like, I don't want to embarrass myself or my company
Right.
by doing this, incorrectly. So yeah, it's always really good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
I was trying to think if there's something else I wanted to highlight.
We're almost to the end of the semester,
Yes.
really. So
Yeah.
we've had several events already this
Yeah.
semester, but those are the big things coming up.
Yeah, and always resources available, always available for meetings. You should check out information in CORE. We didn't even talk about CORE.
Yeah. Oh, man.
What is CORE?
So CORE is the system that you use to interact with all things the exchange. So that's where you schedule appointments. That's where you can see what events or walk-in hours that we're hosting. That's where you can see what relationships we have with employers and kind of the history of the relationship with employers. So really all things that have to do with career development, you can find that in CORE. But CORE is also a place where we try to gather some data from graduates or upcoming graduates. So something that seniors might see from us is communication about our first destination survey. And really the goal to collect this information isn't to say, hey, we're going to spread all this information about. The goal to collect the information is to help educate and inform current students as they're getting ready to start that job search. So you can find some information from us, but really we just try to gather where students are going, what their job titles might be, if they're staying in Indianapolis, general data that can help inform your current students too.
Yeah, nice. So check things out on Core.
Yes.
And go to the Exchange. You're in the library. It's a great space. Good,
Comfy couch,
yeah.
friendly
good
people.
tables. Yeah, the people, they're okay. Yeah.
I think a myth, we were going back to that. A myth is that career services is scary or that it's like a real stiff
Intimidating,
environment.
yeah.
Our office is really fun.
Yeah.
We try to have First Fridays event at the beginning of the month just to try and have a fun, more laid back experience. We try to make this intimidating process a little less scary.
Yeah.
And we do offer walk-in hours, so if scheduling a one-on-one meeting is something that you're not really ready for, we've got about 2 hours each day, except for Fridays, but 2 hours each day where you can just pop in and there's somebody available, ready to hear out what questions you might have or just guide you in the right direction. So we're usually working in the main space a lot, especially during those walk-in hours where you can just come in and have a conversation with no expectations of an ask on you, just to stop by and get to know
Yeah.
our office.
Nice. Well, that's great. I'm so happy that you both could join me today. So thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah. That's a wrap on this episode of Nightly Highlights. For the scoop on these stories and more, check out the Nightly News delivered to your inbox Sundays at 5 p.m. Thanks for tuning in.